Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-race edition for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix. Not entirely sure how I'm going to sum this one up, other than to say this guy took a brilliant pole position on Saturday, and in the race itself held the lead from Lewis Hamilton from the start, held it for the majority of the race. With 30 laps to go, with both drivers having made their one and only pit stop onto the hard tyre, Seb led Lewis. The gap was less than a second, and we had game on for the win between the two drivers who have defined their generation and two drivers who have defined the last decade of Formula One. 9 world championships between them, and less than a second out on track. Hamilton doing all he could, applying every element of pressure that he could on Sebastian Vettel, just waiting for the moment when, if possibly, Seb might crack. And crack he did, a small mistake into the chicane, over the grass, carrying the momentum, keeping his foot in so as not to lose the car over the grass. The momentum carried him across the track into Hamilton's path. Hamilton had to back out. The stewards investigated. And ultimately, 5 seconds. 5 seconds is what was given to Sebastian Vettel. The fans made their disapproval at the track well known on the podium, booing Lewis Hamilton. Unfair, because what had Lewis done other than do his job, put the guy under pressure, do everything he could to win this contest? It was Sebastian Vettel who crossed the line in first place, Lewis Hamilton who came home behind him, and Charles Leclerc who came home third. But that's not the order that the history books will record.
Yeah, an odd end to the day. So it's strange when all I did today was drive my heart out, and then to see the sportsmanship from the fans was a little bit odd. But nonetheless, I'm just really grateful because I had a crash on Friday, so on the back foot, and then this morning we had an engine problem, and the guys worked so hard. They truly worked so hard and deserve to have a car out there because they did such a great job. And so I was just out there just trying to drive for them, like really wanted to put in the best drive that I could put in for them and get the best result. And yeah, ultimately I was the only way, you can't follow that well here, so the only way I could do is push him into an error, and he made one. My fault necessarily, but yeah. And then at the end I just I was trying to do it the right way, try to get close enough to overtake, but my tyres kind of went, I think his were going off as well. But they were just so fast today, particularly on the straights, and that's really where I was struggling to keep up.
You guys have done an amazing job, as you say, to come back from the crash on Friday to pull off the win here today. You have, however, been in the same position as Seb a decade or so ago at Spa, to have a win that you thought was yours and then ultimately lose it at the end of the... Remember when you had the penalty in Spa, when you thought you'd let Kimi pass enough and then they took it away from you, and what's that feeling like inside yourself to be given that penalty?
That one was a little bit different but it's similar, but that was different because I remember what happened there when I went off and got ahead and lemon back and overtook again, and the team asked Charlie, who was the steward at the time, asked him if that was okay, and they otherwise I'd let him back past and try again, and he came back to them and said that's fine. So I stayed ahead, and then later on they're like, actually no, it's not okay. So it was a little bit different then, because if I'd been told at the time that it was wrong, I would let him back, and then anyway he crashed. So but I understand what it's like to lose a race, but slightly different circumstances, I would say. But at the end of the day, Seb drove a really great race. The Ferrari did such a great job this weekend. They were so fast, and it really took absolutely everything for me to try and keep up with them and remain in the race. So that's what I did.
I drove my heart out. I tried everything. Obviously, Lewis had better pace. I think you could see that he was faster than us, but we were able to stay ahead because we were quick in crucial places and fight him off the whole race. Good strategy, we reacted well just in time. After the stop, obviously it was tough because we still had to manage the rest of the race, and I had to save fuel, probably more than Lewis behind me, because he had the tow most of the laps, so that saves you fuel for free. So I had full hands on, but I think we crossed the line first, and I think we can be very proud of this weekend's achievement. Also with Charles being on the podium, I think overall it's been a great weekend. So it just feels a bit weird now, to be honest. having done nothing wrong, not crossing the line first and not getting the winner's trophy.
This is a racing championship.
I'm not sure. Is it racing? If we have decisions like this, I think what happened today was racing. It was racing on track, but I don't think we look back in, for sure I'm angry now, but I don't think we look back in a month time or in a year's time and say that it was great racing. You see, I think if anything, these sort of things, they interfere with racing, in my opinion.
Hey Charles, double podium for Ferrari. Is this the weekend where the red team swings back?
I don't know. Of course, I think as a team we'll all have hope that Seb will be more to the top of the podium, but these things happen. I think second and third anyway is a good result, even though we could have done better as a team. But overall I'm very happy actually about my race today. We stopped a bit late to cover the risk of virtual safety car and safety car. Unfortunately there was none of them, so we lost quite a lot of time, precious time that we had to catch up afterward.
Is it telling that Mercedes, well, certainly across the line when the checkered flag fell, were behind Sebastian in terms of where the team has come? Maybe steps that you've made from the last few races to put yourselves back into a position where it's them chasing you, not the other way around?
I will not go that far. I think Mercedes is still the benchmark at the moment. Lewis was very quick. I think he was very close to Seb all race long. We need to see in the next few races. But this weekend I think we have been very strong in qualifying pace. Not myself but Seb. But I think it shows what is the car capable of in qualifying, in the race a bit less.
Looking forward to France?
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we'll bring some things that will make us go even quicker.
So that's your top three. And here's all of the Lewis fans. Now, wait, guys. Wait.
Lewis Nation!
What do we think? Okay, I know you guys are Lewis fans, but the 5-second penalty, what do we think? Yes or no? Yes! So you agree with the penalty? You agree with the penalty? Okay, let's go down and ask the Ferrari. Come on, Steve, let's go down and ask the Ferrari fans. There's Ferrari fans here, but there's more Ferrari fans over this side. Let's ask the Ferrari fans. Hey, Ferrari fans! Hey, do you agree with the penalty? And that's the race in a nutshell, basically. You've got those that think it's a good penalty, those that don't think it's a good penalty. So, is it drawn by your partisanship, or as Seb said, is it racing? There will be, obviously these questions will be discussed and hopefully answered over the next few days and weeks, but it is a question that will be asked and it is an answer that needs giving. Let us go now to Valtteri. P4 today at the line. Had a really hard weekend. He was on the back foot in qualifying, having made that mistake, and never really got himself back into it. But I think it's fair to say, Ferrari back in the mix. Valtteri's going to need to be on his game to maintain the advantage that Mercedes was shown in the early races. End of a really hard weekend. How was the race for you?
Beginning was tough, I have to say. I had quite a bit of overheating issues with the front brakes and the engine, so couldn't really push consecutive laps behind other cars. So I just had to kind of push one lap, cool down the car one lap. So it was difficult to have good rhythm, so I couldn't really get through the cars. Eventually, then in the free air, the speed was good, really good, and everything was feeling fine. But yeah, I think that was the maximum could get from what I achieved yesterday, so everything comes down to my mistake yesterday.
We've been expecting a Mercedes-Ferrari fight all season. Is this the weekend where it started to look more like you guys have got a battle on your hands?
For sure, it looks like that, and obviously we got some good points this weekend, although I had a tricky qualifying, but yeah, for sure they're going to be, next race, France, there's some pretty long straights there, so for sure they're going to be strong.
And so did Red Bull Racing. Max Verstappen got caught out by the red flag in qualifying and had it all to do today. Started on the hard tyre and was one of the last drivers to pit to finish the race on the medium, something that actually Lance Stroll down at Racing Point did as well, but we'll come to him in a little bit. Verstappen drove with his usual aplomb and actually had a great race. such a good race that he actually finished ahead of Pierre Gasly, who'd started ahead of him. P5 for Verstappen at the flag, P8 for Pierre Gasly, and quite an incredible turn for Max Verstappen. If you think back a year after Monaco and that awful weekend for Verstappen, he has never, in the calendar year since then, Canada to Canada, every time he's seen the checkered flag, he has been ahead of his teammate in every single race. That is the level that Max Verstappen is at right now, even if he's starting behind him on track. Brilliant race from Max again. Pierre, he's still got those little incremental, just those little edges to find, to smooth off. But when you're trying to compete with someone like Verstappen, who's at the level that he's racing, it's always going to be pretty hard. Max, an outstanding drive today from the lower reaches of the top 10 through to where you finished. Are you happy? Did you enjoy it?
Enjoy it is maybe not the right word, but yeah, we just, well, how would you call it? A control drive. There was not much more I could do. Finished P5. Probably if I started P3, I would have ended P5, or when I started P5, I would have been P5. So we just didn't have the pace really to fight the cars ahead. I did a very long first stint. Seemed to work quite well for me to clear the traffic a bit. Once we pitted, I could also then quite quickly clean the Renaults and could do my own race, but there was not much more to get, so it was basically just bringing the car home.
It brings to a sort of a full circle, an amazing year for you since Canadian Grand Prix last year. When you've seen the checkered flag, you've never been behind your teammate. I don't think any other driver in the sport has got that record right now. What does that say about the level that you are racing at right now, what you're pulling out of your car every weekend?
I don't know. I just always try to get the best out of it. And I think also over the years you get more and more experience and you understand your car and your team more, and you work towards a good setup also for the race. And I feel good in the car. I feel comfortable in the car. I think that helps a lot. And of course, from the lessons I've learned over the years in Formula One, not only Formula One, but mainly the last few years where you then really grow up, I think that just helps a lot to put in the results now.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. I think we need to analyze a bit more. A lot of things we could have done better, but I think with the heat we just struggled a lot and we had to save engine, brakes, and just made the whole race difficult. So quite a bit of work before the French GP to come back with more speed.
Now Daniel Ricciardo had stunned everyone by qualifying fourth on Saturday, but he always knew he was going to be hanging on for that with much faster cars like the Red Bulls and the Mercedes starting behind him. He ultimately came home P6 after a great fight, particularly with Valtteri Bottas. His teammate Nico Hülkenberg 1 spot behind him. A brilliant result for the team. Double point score as they go to the French Grand Prix and their home race in 2 weeks' time.
I knew from our starting position I was probably going to be defending more than attacking. I would have loved to have attacked a bit at the start, but it was quite poor off the line. So I had Leclerc kind of in my sight, but didn't really get a good launch. But after that we had good pace and Valtteri was coming through, and I thought actually he would have got me quite easy as soon as he got on my tail. But managed to hold him off the first lap, and then I was like, I kind of knew it was too early. Like I knew he wasn't really in our race, but also I was like, what the hell? I got a chance to fight a Mercedes, so I'm gonna fight with all I got. And we managed to battle and hold him off for I think 7 or so laps, which was fun. Probably hurt my tyres in the course of it, but it was worth it, and I think it was nice to show that character and get everyone excited for a bit.
I think what was most telling in that battle is you love your car being on its nose and you need it to be responsive under braking, and you haven't had that car for a lot of this season, but you were able to put it where you want it, late brake into that corner and not lose the rear. Are you happier with where that car is? It's enabled you to fight like you like to fight.
Yeah, it's getting closer for sure. I won't lie, coming into the last chicane a few times, I was like, I'm not making the corner here. But I managed to pull it up. It didn't always look pretty, but but it's certainly better than what I felt the first few races, and it's coming. It's certainly coming, and that's nice. And the better the car gets, I think the better I'll get with the car, and that happiness and confidence will keep growing. So it's cool. 6th, 7th, good for the team. First double points. It's been a long time coming, so it's good that we took advantage of that and got a big haul today.
I asked Nico the same question. It's French Grand Prix next. Is this the springboard that you guys need to bounce off to take the fight to the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, the Ferraris in the future?
I think so. I mean, it's clear we still got a lot of work to do, but it's certainly now the trajectory is starting to catch up to where our expectation was, and that's strong. And France, we got some new parts. Speaking to a few of the other drivers, I think we're not the only team coming with some updates, but as long as we focus on ourselves and they work for us, then I'm sure we'll keep bridging the gap at some point.
Good day for us, best team result I think of the season. And just rewarding, we had that in the car like the last few previous weekends, but we've always had some, kind of issue that held us back from scoring those kind of positions. So just nice for once, to bring it through and come out with that good team result and finally some more points on the board.
Is this the springboard to better things?
I hope so. Everybody's been working really hard, so it's nice also to reward the people back in the factory in Enstone and Viry. That feels really nice and good for me. So hopefully we can keep this trend up, take this momentum obviously into the Renault Home Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.
It looked like it was going to be quite a hard weekend for Racing Point. Given that, on the basis of Spain and Monaco, the two races at which they've had their upgraded car, things haven't quite gone to plan for them. But things were looking a lot more promising. Sergio Perez certainly believed he had the car underneath him to get into the final parts of qualifying, but a mistake from him left him out in Q1. And Lance Stroll's engine had gone bang in FP3, which meant that he was down on power and also didn't make it out of Q1. So the race was looking really hard for them. But Lance was put onto a great strategy, exactly the same one as Max Verstappen. Start on the hards, go long, finish on the mediums, push to the end. That's exactly what he did. Came home 9th to record points at home for himself and, of course, the team, which is now Canadian, at their first home event. A brilliant end to what had looked like a really hard weekend, and many, many smiles for Lance Stroll and for Racing Point. Ooh, that was a hell of a race.
Say it again, Will.
I mean, come on, man. Starting on...
Yeah.
You were not in a good place yesterday. That race was phenomenal.
Yeah, I just put all my emotions on the table today. It was just balls out. Yeah, loved every minute of it. And yeah, fully committed from lap one onwards. Some good overtakes. Giovinazzi, Perez down to the hairpin. Sainz for P9. It was a great race, and one I'm going to remember.
And it came from, again, one of your trademark starts. You made up, within the first couple of hours, 7-8 places?
I don't think it was that much.
But it was a few.
Something along those lines. Probably more like 3 or 4. But okay. Yeah, we did a lot of. A lot of the job was done on track, pace, passing, aside from the start. So that's what I'm really pleased about. Is we had to work for it today, and we got it done.
What does this mean for you, for the team? Obviously, it's the first Canadian home Grand Prix for the team as a Canadian team, and for you as well to be the one bringing home the points.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, to do it at home is always special, and it's exactly what happened today. Everything considered yesterday, engine blow up really put us on the back foot. No running in P3. We took we took a hit in terms of performance for qualifying in the race today, and we still managed to grab 2 points, which is fantastic.
And so to another team that was looking at having a hard weekend after a couple of really good kind of races and constantly being there in that midfield battle. Toro Rosso weren't expecting anything mega from the weekend. Danik Fiat told us after qualifying he never expected to have the car for Q3, and certainly both of them out before Q3. However, although Alex Albon retired from the race, he took contact on the very first lap, had to change his wing at the end of that first lap, and ultimately retired from the race much later on. Danik Fiat fought up and finished in the points. P10 for him, massively unexpected, but a great result and a great end to what had, as we said, promised to be a more difficult weekend for the Toro Rosso boys.
Yes, I think taking home 1 point today was absolute best we could do. It was squeezed everything out of the car every lap of the race. Since lap 1 it was a very good race, and to take this 1 point is super cool. 3 laps to go, good move, and that's what the guys deserve today.
Now, it's been a pretty hard weekend for McLaren. Carlos Sainz here was the only car to see the checkered flag, but he had an issue in the early part of the race with his brakes, meant he had to have an early pit stop. And basically, for pretty much the entire Grand Prix, other than the first 3 laps, was on one set of those hards, for the entire duration of the race. His teammate, Lando Norris, didn't have a good time either. DNF for him when his rear right gave way. Didn't hit the wall, apparently. Just gave out on him. Luckily, not at the end of that long back straight. Or, that could have been pretty nasty. So, not a great weekend for McLaren. A lot of promise, but no points. Hey, Lando.
What's up?
I don't know. You tell me. What happened?
I don't know.
Did you clonk a wall, or did the right rear just tap out?
Yeah, I just tapped out. Didn't want any more driving for today. But I didn't hit any walls. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Didn't have contact with anyone, so a bit of a mystery. The guys don't even know what happened, so they got to look into it because it's nothing obvious from the data or from my feeling or from what they saw. So a bit weird, but it happened, so I just got to move on and look ahead to the next race.
It's kind of lucky it happened sort of at the exact point it did, because a couple of seconds earlier, and that's not a place you want a rear failure.
No, definitely not. I was quite lucky, like you said. Came out the last chicane, which I had to go straight on in, and then it happened just as I came back onto the track. I was still a bit worried because I was in the middle of the track, saw the guys coming behind, and it was quite hard to control. And I didn't know which way the Toro Rosso was going to go, to the left or to the right, so I just had to hope that nothing else was going to happen and I wasn't going to just get randomly put in a different direction. I put off to the side safely, so I was lucky that it happened when it did, just not lucky that it happened altogether.
Another tough weekend for Alfa Romeo, for Kimi Raikkonen, who has been off the boil all weekend, and for his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi. Neither one of them in the points, P13, P15 at the flag, and Giovinazzi, really unhappy with his car, with his tyres, spun down at turn 1. It's just been a scrappy, messy weekend for Alfa Romeo. Nowhere near the promise that they showed in the early races of the year. And a lot of work to do for Giovinazzi and for Raikkonen to get back that verve, that spark that they had in those early races.
It was a difficult race. We started with the hard tires, and it was good. Then I had the issue on turn 1 when I spun, but we need to check what happened. And after that, the pace was not really there, and nothing to say, P13. So
it's been a really hard couple of weekends for you guys. How do you turn it around in a couple of weeks' time?
We need to check everything, study a lot, and try to find a solution, because like that we lost the pace, and this is not good, especially on the race. So we need to check.
It had been looking like a great weekend for Haas. The car looked pretty together. Quali was looking great, should have made it through to Q3 fairly easily. Grosjean, though, never got to complete his lap because his teammate pinballed it down the start-finish straight. From that point on, really hard weekend for them. Romain Grosjean came home P14, Kevin Magnussen P17, and we heard him on the radio in the race decrying one of the most difficult and arduous races that he said he'd ever had in his career.
Emotions run very high in a situation like that. I've never been so, felt so hopeless and disappointed, because it's, we have such a good car. In qualifying it's brilliant, and we can fight, anyone in the midfield. And we've been on best of the West pole for 3 or 4 times this year, maybe even more. It's very hard to keep your emotions under control in a situation like that, and nothing meant towards the team. They've done an amazing job again this week, and I made a mistake in qualifying, and they had to build a completely new car. So they've done a great job, and they've built me a beautiful car that is extremely good in qualifying, but then we have these tires that just doesn't work in the race for us. So it's hard to not be very disappointed, but I know the whole team is, and they deserve a lot better.
And so to our familiar finishing point down here at Williams. However, while usually it's a slightly sorry tale and sort of not much reason to be happy, well, the Polish fans are always happy and enthusiastic. I think there is quite a lot to be enthusiastic for Williams about this weekend, because there are those green shoots of recovery. The new suspension, the new upgrades on the car have given them the dependability, the consistency that they lacked in early races, and that for them is the starting point from which all other developments will stem. You've got to have that dependable car, and then you can start adding a pace to it. So yes, another race where ultimately they were right at the back of the field, but first step of many towards getting them back up the grid.
Yeah, definitely. We have to find the positives in every situation, and a positive definitely the car is feeling relatively nice to drive. I think we really made the most of the package. Now we just need to put some more downforce on it. So, like I said, that will come, but we just got to get through these moments for the time being.
So that is your lot from Paddock Pass. And that is the car that crossed the line in first place today. A 1-3 it was over the line. A 2-3 it will be recorded in the history books. One thing though is sure, Ferrari are back. They had the win on the roads, just not on paper. Mercedes may have had things their own way for the opening races of this season, but after this weekend you get the feeling that Ferrari have finally unlocked that potential that we believed they had in pre-season. And with that in mind, can't wait to get to France in a couple of weeks' time. As we said, this race has asked a lot of questions. We may get some answers to them over the coming days, but for now it's another win for Lewis Hamilton, and Ferrari will be seething and wanting to make amends in France. Join us then for that. Thanks for following along, and that is your lot.